Hi, I'm James with Curse. How's it going? I just got back from GDC. I have my water, I have a cold, and I have chapped lips that make me look like I'm wearing lipstick. But let's forget all about that because I uploaded some Elder Scrolls B-roll recently, and I had a lot of questions about it. Like, you know, is the combat system like, wow, what's with the fog? Why is everybody standing still? Stuff like that. So I'm just going to go through that and kind of discuss how that stuff worked when I played the game at PAX. I played for about 2 or 3 hours. And my experience with it was generally awesome, and this is coming from someone who was not even remotely excited for Star Wars The Old Republic, and can recognize a WoW clone when he sees it. So let's talk about what makes the Elder Scrolls different than games like World of Warcraft and kind of the conventional MMO. Alright, so the first thing, and I think the most important thing, and the thing everybody wants to know about, is the combat system, so let's get straight into it. You have your left click and you have your right click. Your left click is an attack. If you have an axe, you're going to swing the axe. If you have a bow, you're going to shoot the bow. If you have a wand, you're going to shoot a magical ball to melt someone's face. And the right click works a lot like you would expect it to. It's a block. And this is kind of the jumping off point for the rest of the combat system. So if you hold down the left click, you're going to charge up a power attack. So if you have a two-handed mace, you know you're going to kind of hold it over your head, and you're going to start telegraphing. And what that means is you're going to emanate this aura that lets your enemy know, hey, I'm going to hit you. So if you see someone emanating this aura, a power attack, then you can block it, and then that's going to stun them in return, which I love. I love the reactionary gameplay. It's awesome. And then on top of that, while they're stunned, you can then power attack them and knock them flat on their ass. I also think it's worth briefly dispelling the rumor that somehow you're going to be standing still when you fight, because it's just simply not the case. You can run, you can jump, there's rolling in the game, there's a lot of really cool stuff you can do, and whenever you're fighting, you're just doing this elaborate dance. I think the reason why they don't really showcase that in some of the B-roll is because the animations are not really there. I mean, yes, there are animations in the game, but they are super rough, and I don't think that's necessarily something you want to be showcasing when you're trying to put your best foot forward this early on in beta. So I was going to talk about spellcasting next, but to make any kind of sense of that, we really need to talk about the way progression works in this game. So let's do just that. Every time you level up, you get 2 points. 1 point is allocated to either your health, your magicka, or your stamina. You choose which you want to put that point into. And just as a brief aside, stamina does deplete when you're sprinting. I don't know why I like that so much, but I do. And the second point you put into one of many, many trees, all of which I've written down on my second monitor, so I'm going to read them presently. All right, so there's 3 overarching groups here. Keep in mind, these are not trees, these are groups of trees. So there's weapons, armor, and then your class skills. So the weapon trees are two-handed, one-handed and a shield, dual-wield, bow, destruction staff, and restoration staff, for a grand total of 6 different trees for weapons. Each one of those has 5 passive and 5 active abilities in it. And just for random goodness, I wrote down one of the two-handed weapon active skills, which is reverse slash, which deals damage based upon missing health. So it's an execute. Awesome. Then next for armor, we have light armor, medium armor, and heavy armor. Light armor is spellcasting, medium armor is rogue, ranger kind of deal, and then heavy armor is your warrior, full plate goodness. And I wrote down an active ability from the heavy tree, which is, you can tell what kind of class I'm going to play, which is the immovable spell, which reduces damage taken by 20% for 8 seconds, while also making the caster immune to stuns and knockbacks. And then finally we have your class skills, and I happen to be playing a Dragon Knight, so I wrote down his 3 trees. He has a tree called Earthern Heart, which is the tank tree, Draconic Power, which is melee DPS, and then Ardent Flame, which is fire damage. Being that I'm going to play a tank, I wrote down Magma Armor, which is his ultimate in the Earthern Heart tree. Each one of these trees has an ultimate, which I do not believe the weapon or armor trees possess. Keep in mind, just briefly, that every time you level up, you have to put 1 skill point into... It's not like you get 1 per tree or anything. You got to figure out which one you want and kind of build your character that way. So Magma Armor alt caps incoming damage at 3% of your max HP. So theoretically, if I had 100 HP, you shot me in the head with an arrow and did 50 damage, I'm only going to take 3 of that damage. And on top of that, nearby enemies take fire damage every single second, so that's awesome. If you want to know more about like the nitty-gritty of this stuff, I'll put a link right here. No, I'm sorry, right here. And you can click that. I'll just read like verbatim all the notes I wrote down when I was playing it at PAX. But now let's move on to how you cast these spells. Spell casting, let's talk about it. I don't necessarily have a ton of experience with spell casting in the Elder Scrolls Online because I was playing a tank. So the kind of stuff that I was unlocking was a taunt that would debuff armor and a short-range stun that was also this like shield bash magma bolt thing. But let's talk about that spell in particular because I have 3 things to say about it. The first of which being it was instant cast. It was not on a cast timer. There was not a cast time associated with it. So I know nothing about how cast times are going to work in the Elder Scrolls Online. That being said, I do know that they are in the game because I saw enemy NPCs using spells with cast timers and friendlies using spells with cast timers, so I know they're in there. The second thing I have to say about it is it was 100% targeted. Unless I was being ungodly lucky, it was definitely not a skill shot. I don't know if it was because it was so close range, it was kind of ambiguous. I don't know what the deal was there. I hope there are skill shots in this game. I would love to see skill shots in the Elder Scrolls Online. And if you played a class at PAX that has a skill shot, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. The final thing I have to say is, and this is going to blow some minds, and this isn't just about this skill, but pretty much all the skills in the Elder Scrolls Online in general, besides maybe alts, is that there are no cooldowns. The Elder Scrolls is not about a rotation. So this is where it changes from a conventional MMO to the Elder Scrolls MMO. It's not based upon cooldowns and rotations. You're not casting this spell, which is triggering this one, and now you're casting this one because these 2 are off of cooldown. That's not how it works. It's much more about resource management, managing your magicka, and finally, situational awareness. Are you going to need a lot of CC in this fight? Then use your CC spell. Okay, so finally, the last thing I want to discuss before I let you guys go is exploration and the graphics and the fog. I didn't see the fog. Maybe I was just blind and I didn't notice it. I see it in the B-roll now. When I was playing the game, not that much fog. I was in a very desert area. I was starting as an orc, part of Daggerfall Covenant, but the game looked beautiful for an MMO. It really did. I was blown away by the graphics. I hadn't seen graphics like that in an MMO ever, so I hope you guys are as taken with it as I was. Maybe it was just the artistic style, maybe it was the shadows and lighting, I don't know. The sun shafts were pretty sweet too. I think overall, my experience with the Elder Scrolls Online at PAX was a good one, especially since I was coming from a place where everybody was saying it was a WoW clone. It was the farthest thing from a WoW clone I've seen in a long time. And I hope this video really helped to express that. And I also hope you subscribe and maybe watch this other video. I'm sorry, over here. I always do that. But that's going to have a lot more specifics, and I'll just read you the notes that I wrote down at PAX in verbatim. And I will be covering the Elder Scrolls extensively. So again, I'll have a lot more videos for you guys as we move closer to launch of the Elder Scrolls. And I really hope you subscribe. This has been James with Curse. Enjoy the game.